Millennials, that is, people born anywhere between about 1985 and 1995, have often been called a generation of nostalgia. So, what are we so nostalgic about? Young people have a tendency to identify themselves based on the various types of media they consume, including video games, films, and books.
Started out with the Super Nintendo as like a 5 or 6 year old. And then from there, me and my brother owned our family had an N64, which probably had the best memories, some of my personal favorite games growing up. And then we had a PS2, and then, around 2003, 2004, we got an Xbox original, which was great. And then an Xbox 360, which was still the family's. Also, some of our best games, like some of the best games I've ever played.
I mean, I played a lot of video games. I started from the ground up. My very first video game was Pong, and then I kind of moved on to Super Mario and old Duke Nukem, Sonic the Hedgehog, working my way on to Super Mario 64, Star Fox 64, GoldenEye. And these were really, really well done games, and they were simple, and I liked that they were simple.
So, with Harry Potter, I was introduced to the books when I was about 7, which was like a pretty good age, I think. And I started reading the first one. It took me a long time. The first time I saw one in theaters was the third one. And it was like, oh wow. It was like, wow, this is Harry Potter, the person I've been reading about.
My very first experience with Harry Potter was I stole Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, copy of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone from my brother. And I went up to my mom and I was like, can I read this book? And she's like, I don't know, can you? Because I was probably in 2nd grade or something like that. And my mom said, I don't know, if you think you can handle it. And so I sat down and I read it out of spite.
I think my earliest memory in general, like with video games, is playing Donkey Kong Country with my dad. I don't know, that's still one of my favorite games of like all time.
Ocarina of Time. With how much of a Zelda geek I am, you'd expect me to be someone like from the 70s who like played the original freaking Zeldas. I think they're all phenomenal, but the first one I ever played was Ocarina of Time, and that's my personal favorite. That's the one I stick to as far as story goes.
When I was a kid, another game, I liked Zelda a lot, Ocarina of Time. I never owned it, but we rented it like every single weekend. We rented it, and so we'd have to start over, of course.
Crash Bandicoot, Jak and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank, Shadow of the Colossus, Metal Gear Solid, old Star Wars games, Pokemon. Kind of everything, really.
Combat Evolved, Halo. It was...
The first one?
Yeah. It was me and my brother's childhood, pretty much. Like, going over to a friend's house, they just happen to have it, that's what we're playing. We go over to our father's house and that's definitely what we're playing, because it's such a fun game, especially with the multiplayer in general. 3 pistol shots to the face. It's phenomenal. Not just that, but the campaign was really good. Like, Halo 1, Halo 2, story was great. And Halo 3, I liked it. They wrapped it up well. Then Halo 4 comes around and you're like, what are they doing?
Going a little bit older, when I was a teenager, I was very, very into Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy. I'm a huge Kingdom Hearts nerd. Here it is.
What video game do you think you've played the most, like you've put in the most hours on?
Like any?
Any, like
Okay.
through your whole life, yeah.
Through my whole life? Pokemon.
Yeah.
Okay. Without a doubt, Pokemon.
I played so much Pokemon as a kid, especially because when I got my Game Boy, that was really the only game I had for a very long time. So I played it through however many times. I don't even remember.
I liked the idea of a group of people, like a group of 3, I guess, like strong friends that were fighting against this like sense of evil, and it was an adventure story, but it like grew up with me, I think. I liked that aspect of it.
Halo 3 had that story, had that multiplayer factor, and it wasn't the generic bullshit. It wasn't the Call of Duty Halo. It was goddamn Halo.
This communal sense of nostalgia permeates every form of media we use. Movie producers and video game developers know this. You don't even have to look far to see the evidence. In fact, look at the highest-selling movie of 2015, Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. The film was praised for staying true to the original movies while also being original itself.
I think it's very difficult to recreate all of the feelings that you had when you were watching that movie or you were playing that old video game or whatever it. But I think Star Wars did it pretty well. When I went to the theater with you guys and we all saw Star Wars again and the letters came up and that was good. It was like I've gone back to the movie theater like the first time, sitting in my little seat, watching episode 2.
Oh, the first time I saw episode 7, I was one of the losers that saw that in theaters 4 times when it was out. The first time I saw it, I sobbed throughout like the whole thing. To have this one come out and then just be so unapologetically good, it was awesome. It was awesome to see like a return to just the original trilogy.
Many people incorporate nostalgia into their lives in interesting and unique ways. Some of them do this by dressing up as their favorite characters at conventions.
Cosplay is what you hear. It's costume play. It's where people dress up as characters, and people do this for various reasons. Some people do it for the challenge. Some people do it because it makes them feel cool. Some people do it because they're bored.
Can you name some people who've like cosplay characters you've played to dress up as?
Girl. Who have I not cosplayed as? I've probably cosplayed as half the cast of Kingdom Hearts in my day. I've been Kairi. I've been Link. Several different Harry Potter characters. I'm going to be doing Cloud Strife, Hetalia, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon.
Others collect toys and action figures.
I have some Star Wars toys behind me now, so I think a lot of people get super nostalgic about like even the toys.
Others permanently put nostalgic symbolism on their bodies in the forms of tattoos.
It's the Eye of Sheikah. Anyone who's played through Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask knows what the Lens of Truth is. The Lens of Truth, should I explain it? Yeah. The Lens of Truth is an artifact. I can't remember exactly who created it, who built it. I believe it was just one of the wizards. There were like 13 major wizards, and each of them did one crazy thing, and that's the one that he made, according to what the sages wanted. Multiple different factors. One of them just simply being the perspective factor. It's kind of cool to be like drinking with a couple friends or smoking a cigarette, and you're just kind of pointing it at people, like, yeah, just trying to freak them out, right? Because the eye itself, it's supposed to represent perspective. Say I'm going to shake someone's hand, and it just happens to be on my right hand, and I shake their hand, and now I have a better understanding of who they are. I have a better perspective of who they are based upon the tattoo. And it's just freaking awesome because Zelda's really sick.
We can also see this in video games such as Pokemon Go.
Every time a new Pokemon game comes out, like as an adult now, every time a new Pokemon game comes out, I take the day off from work and school, and it is a 12-hour venture into like whatever new region of Pokemon there is.
So you play Pokemon Go, right?
Oh yeah.
What'd you think of that?
I thought it was fun.
I hate it.
You hate it, really?
I hate it. It doesn't capture what I think Pokemon is. It is very much a mobile game, and I'm happy that it has this wide success like across the world, but it's not for me.
And others simply like to relive the original experience.
Like I reread Harry Potter every year just to have that feeling again and to refresh myself and thinking like, okay, yes, this is the feeling that I had when I first saw, and like, you know, and getting that, like, that's why I'm so excited about the opening night of this, because it's like, oh, yes, expansion on something that's feels like home, I guess.
This sense of nostalgia has made its way into our music as well. Vaporwave is a subgenre of electronic music that incorporates elements of nostalgia. This can be done by sampling sounds from old movies or video games, or within the visual artwork associated with the genre.
I think this is kind of creative. Are they playing on people's emotions and memories? Maybe. But like I said, as long as it's done in good taste and executed well. Holy shit.
That's one of the ways of grabbing people's attention. Like, someone who is from that time, like, you could hear the PS2, you could hear multiple different item screen sounds. That's one of those ways of grabbing people's attention and really making something new and completing the art process.
I mean, it is definitely different. I mean, it's its own thing as much as it is a copy.
Taking the old and recontextualizing it to make something new. This is the essence of what Vaporwave does, and indeed what movies such as The Force Awakens do. This is clear in scenes like this one, where the director takes an easily recognizable object, such as the Millennium Falcon, and samples it to make an entirely new experience for the viewer, in the same way that Vaporwave does with music. As I said before, millennials are often called the generation of nostalgia. What makes our nostalgia so unique, though?
With the advancement of technology, there's also an influx of knowledge that you gain from it. So, as you gain more knowledge, like the simplicity of what we had, just you distance yourself from it. You become more and more like an adult and less like a kid, but we yearn for that simplicity.
I think physical media is sort of nostalgic in a way because we're totally moving into this era of everything being digital, but our generation in particular has grown up with VHS tapes. I mean, for those of us who were like late into the 80s, Betamax, Laserdisc, VHS to DVD to Blu-ray to digital, and now like 4K Blu-rays are coming out. The internet has only gotten faster to stream higher quality images. So like holding a physical copy of something, I think, is sort of like harkening back to like wanting those big puffy VHS tapes from Disney. Or, I don't know, I think digital media, or not digital, but physical media in general is just sort of playing on, like, those of us who still want that library, where, like, digital is totally the future.